Hello again, everybody, and welcome to a Saturday afternoon of world-class thoroughbred action live here in Hallandale Beach, Florida at Gulfstream Park. This is Gulfstream today, joined by Acacia Courtney. I'm track announcer Pete Aiello. 12 races on the card here this afternoon, a fast main track and a firm turf course. Supposedly summer's over, but I don't think we got that memo.
It still feels like summer. It's technically starting in the months of fall, but still bright and sunny and nice and warm here in South Florida. A beautiful day for a great day of racing.
12 races to get to on the program. Plenty of wagering options for you here this afternoon, including the Super High Five with races with 7 horses or more. That does qualify as race number 1. So we'll get started with the rolling Super High Five in the first race.
And then the early pick 5 50-cent wager that also starts in the first race. I'll have a ticket for you there.
And we have a 12 race format. So with the 12 race format, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 pick 4s. You'll have a middle pick 4 opportunity on the 5th race. Races 5, 6, 7, and 8 comprise the 50-cent middle pick 4.
I guess that's a very popular wager as well. Plus, we have the ever-popular Rainbow 6 20-cent wager. This starts in race number 7, a carryover of $31,599.
Just shy of $32,000 in the Rainbow 6, and if you get knocked out on the first leg, we hope you don't, but if you do, enjoy the late pick 5 as race number 8 begins that sequence. It's just a 50-cent play. We have 12 races on the card here today, so we'll get right to the racing action. Race number 1 on the card on the turf at 7.5 furlongs. The turf course is firm. We have a field of 7 traveling 7.5 for a $10,000 claiming price. The betting favorite, and we were surprised at the early action for number 7, Minecraft.
Well, it's interesting to see this horse taking so much money very early in the wagering, of course, but 9-5 right now on Minecraft, who's actually my top selection in this opener. And the biggest reason that I ended up putting this horse on top is because I just really think he's going to sit the trip in here. The number 1, Tequesta Storm, is certainly going to have some speed coming from the rail there. The 5, Bellino, also has some speed. So we want to give you a look at my pick 5 ticket. We did use this number 7 in there. Also used the 3, Britannia's Moat, and the 1, Tequesta Storm, who I was just talking about. That 7 at 9-5, I do think is going to sit the trip. Wasn't able to single in on one particular horse in the early pick 5, but $36 for me.
Well, for me, I looked at this race 3 or 4 times, and there's really no throwouts in this race. There's something to be said for all of the horses in here. So I would argue that this is one of the deeper races in the early pick 5.
There it is, and it's not an easy way to start off the day, but a fun one for sure.
Well, that's good, because that makes for good betting opportunities. We'll turn now to the second race at 1 mile over the main track. Claimers in for a $6,250 price tag. I felt like the waters got a little shallower in this race with Curlin's Gem and Chiseled as the top 2.
Curlin's Gem was a horse that I really tried to wake up last time out. That was just 6 days ago that he ran on September 11th. Not his strongest performance at all. I was really hoping for a bit better after a good second 2 back. He gets Tyler Gaffleone back in the saddle, which I like for sure, but I landed on Chiseled on top in here because he's back to a fast track and he's dropping in class. Goes back to the 62.50, which is where he won 2 back.
Well, Toe's Gray Cat would be the other horse in this race. He ran bad last time out. There's no other way around it. He had a tactical advantage that he couldn't take use of. He landed 3rd after a slow opening quarter. Cheech Thunder ran everybody down. He was expected to do that, but would have liked to have seen more from the old class horse, Toe's Gray Cat. He'll have a chance again today.
9-year-old gelding. You always have to respect him a bit. Certainly a heart-knocking horse with 52 starts already.
Well, the 3 inside horses, the 3 to key off of in today's second race. It starts the early pick 4. Third race of the afternoon on turf at 5 furlongs. Maiden Claimers in for a $35,000 price tag. Number 6, Parker Elizabeth, looked home and cooled out in the final 16th of her last race, but she got caught by Deputy Dora, who came from nowhere. We showed you that replay yesterday. Deputy Dora from the clouds to win it. Unfortunately for Parker Elizabeth, Deputy Dora came back yesterday and ran really bad.
Yes, I believe abysmal was the word that you liked yesterday.
It was.
That kind of described what Deputy Dora did. I thought Deputy Dora's win last time out was very impressive. No shame for Parker Elizabeth finishing 2nd there, her first time on the turf as well. She's going to add the blinkers for the first time today, and that's one of my biggest reasons with putting her on top here. I want to give you a trainer stat on Mike Maker in the past 5 years with first-time blinkers in maiden claiming 20 for 78, 26% win, 55% of the time in the money. His horses are usually pretty well bet, so $1.58 ROI, but I think pretty solid percentages.
Indeed, and Parker Elizabeth on resume looks like the best horse in here. But what about some of the first-timers down inside? Number 1, Fry's Leap. Never easy to break from the inside gate with her career debut. But the 2, Daddy Zaris, has a better post from post 2 under jockey Roberto Alvarado Jr. This is just a statistical anomaly to me that Dane Kabisky only wins 9% first start this year. I guess I have to believe it, but I just don't understand it.
Well, I kind of like Dane Kabisky a little bit more second time out. I feel like sometimes the horses maybe just need a race. They always run very well, and he does very well with 2-year-olds. And looking at the statistic, it was surprising to me as well. But I thought that this was a horse that you had to have on there. A 2-year-old filly by Wildcat Air out of a Scat Daddy mare. I used Fry's Leap as well. You mentioned breaking from the rail. That's going to be a bit tough. And Dave Brady approaching that 1,000 win mark still.
Yeah, I think this is probably his best chance to win one so far when he's trying to get that 1,000th win. Fry's Leap has Tyler Gaffleone from the rail. There's not a whole lot of dedicated speed in here, at least not from what we can see. So the first-time starters definitely would want to hit the ground running if they want to beat the likely favorite, Parker Elizabeth.
3 first-time starters in here and a couple others with experience. Experience is where I landed.
We'll go now to the 4th race, race number 4, a optional claiming allowance race at 7 furlongs over the main track. Acacia was in love with Smartly Agree. Unfortunately, we'll have to shift to a different relationship in race number 4. Smartly Agree is out. Who is in?
Well, I landed on Danessa again. Danessa again gets bumped up. My biggest question mark for her, she won so impressively last time out, but the biggest question was that kind of a fluke? Because in her first 2 starts, she did absolutely no running. You can argue, yes, she comes off of that 6-month layoff. She moves over into the barn of Gilberto Zerpa. He might have just unlocked the key with this horse. She won by more than 13 lengths that day at odds of 7-1. She's kept some good company. In her last start before that layoff, she finished behind graded stakes place Kinsley Kisses and graded stakes winner Paula Queen, who won a grade 1 at Saratoga this summer, though she was beaten by 26 lengths in that race. But that was the kind of company that she was keeping. She's been working very nicely at Gulfstream Park West. I think we're always so hesitant to cross off a bad race. I think you sometimes have to question a lone good race too. Does she bounce now second off the layoff? But I put her on top in the rest of the field. And here, I think that she might sit just a little bit behind Sweet Parang, the 4, who's pretty much bound to go out to the front.
Yeah, I think that's the right strategy tactically. And I agree with your concerns about Danessa again bouncing. My biggest concern along those lines is the fact that she won in July and we're now in September. We haven't seen her since. That's a little disconcerting. But you already made a case as to why her race 2 back is a throwout. She's running against graded stakes horses and chasing a 22:45 half mile. I'll give you the excuse from her first race. I remember it well as I was big time on the Danessa again bandwagon that day. She got roughed up early and often. She just didn't want any part of a 2-turn mile across town. Her race off the freshening definitely points her out as the one to beat, but there are some concerns.
Absolutely. I mentioned the number 4, Sweet Parang, who tried the turf in her debut. She moved over to the dirt and cut back to 6 furlongs last time. She won by 6, wiring the field. She's going to do the 7 furlongs on the dirt today.
Well, just for comparison purposes, I know this is probably an apples to oranges comparison, but number 5, Danessa, again, went 3/4 in 9-2 while traveling 6.5 in her last race. Sweet Parang finished up in 11-1. That's a huge disparity for me. If Danessa, again, doesn't bounce, she's probably an easy winner.
Oh, that's my thinking as well in here.
Well, we'll look now to the 5th race on the program. It does start the aforementioned middle pick 4. Race number 5 has maidens in at the $16,000 level. These are great betting races because there's a lot of horses trying to find their form and some horses that are rounding into form. 2-year-olds this time of year, always a fun time of year for me. Loving Valentina is the morning line favorite for Gennady Dorochenko. I think I'll pass.
Well, I put this horse 3rd on here. I imagine that the 2 Peaky Girl is going to take quite a bit of money as well. I actually went to the outside with a bunch of daisies. This one dropping a little bit, ran at maiden claiming $25,000 to start, dropping a little bit to the $16,000 tag and adding the blinkers, which was big for me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. We talked about how good Efren Loza is yesterday, and his horses are put in spots where they can win. She did show speed in that debut run. Now we switch riders. Blinkers on here today. I can tell you that Monterey had not rode a lot for the Loza Junior barn going into that race, so I think that might have been an educational performance. You touched on the actual morning line favorite. I got that wrong. 2-1 on the morning line for number 2, Picky Girl. She was a one-pace third last time out behind a first-time starter, Grandma Maria.
Yeah, and I think it was a fine race in there. She is dropping into claiming for the first time last time out after a couple of special weight performances. I think that she's certainly eligible to continue improving. Just preferred the number 7 in here, especially with the addition of those blinkers.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm just going to mention this so I can say that I have it on record. If they ever run a race maiden 16 going a mile, you can give me all you want on Milbra. Milbra had one race at 1 mile. She was against Special Weight Company. That's too rich for her blood, but she just hasn't been able to make up the ground going 5.5. Even this is her first trip at 3/4 might help her. She'll be charging hard from the back.
And she's dropping once again. She had taken a big step up in class last time out, and the stretch out, I think 6 furlongs is a little bit more in her wheelhouse. I threw on the number 4, Gone Rose, for Gustavo Delgado.
She comes out of one of the cheapest races of the meet, Gone Rose, but she did finish it up to get 4th in that race. Blinkers go on. She could always improve. Race number 5 again starts your middle pick 4. Race number 6, we move to the turf now. This is a great betting race for no other reason than a lot of horses are exiting the same race. 5 furlongs on turf, a maiden special weight. I think the race they exit is actually going to come back to prove a key race because one of these horses is going to win out of this race. And one of them already has because Sweet Summer Sweat, who was off the board in the race we're going to show you, came back to take her game around 2 turns and win 2 days ago.
And she won as a big upset, it's a little bit of an upset in there. And I agree with you. I think that this is a really interesting race. I put the number 6, Fabulous Devotion, on top. And I'll give you a trainer stat on Ralph Nix. In the past 5 years with horses that were in the money last time out, this horse finished 2nd by a head last time out. So in the money last out with maidens, 38 for 157, 24% win. In the money 66% of the time. So once they start finishing up there, he's pretty good with keeping them up there. Source is pretty well bet. Again, not a positive ROI, 144, but again, just looking at those percentages.
Well, I can tell you this, the morning line favorite in this race, Lupo's Way, should not be a maiden. She's run too good to lose, except last time. She was 3rd last time as the even money favorite, and it was not her best run. We'll show it to you now. They're coming out of the same race, Fabulous Devotion, Lupo's Way, and A Sail. Of those 3, I think A Sail has more upside by far than the other 2. You'll see A Sail. This is her first start off over a year layoff. She's pressing the eventual winner, Dagny's Revenge. That's Lupo's Way, who's getting a garden trip from 3rd. The eventual horse who won 2 days ago, Sweet Summer Sweat, is along the rail alongside Fabulous Devotion. But as they come off the corner, Dagny's Revenge actually just did not have enough pace pressure. She'll kick away and win it. A Sail looked like a horse who needed one. Lupo's Way just looked like a horse that was 1 pace to me, with Fabulous Devotion charging hard late. Fabulous Devotion is going to make this very close on Dagny's Revenge. Out finishes Lupo's Way. The horse who was 4th, or actually 4th in that race, A Sail, I think she'll be tighter today for O'Connell, and I think, unlike last time, she'll be the one setting the fractions.
I agree. I think that A Sail will be more forwardly placed. I think that Lupo's Way might be kind of up there with her. She's taking the blinkers off, so they added them on. There have been 2 instances where Diane Marici has put the blinkers on and then taken them right back off. Last time was with the addition of blinkers for Lupo's Way. They're coming right back off. She's normally pretty forwardly placed. I agree that A Sail is going to be out to the front. I do think that Lupo's Way is probably going to go with her or be close to her, which could set it up for Fabulous Devotion. But a horse that I am pretty sure is going to be on the front end is the number 5, Caffeine, who's trying the turf for the first time. A little bit of a question mark in here. She's making her first start for trainer David Fox, but she has always shown some speed. She's run pretty well over at Tampa, had a couple of starts at Gulfstream before. Again, she's trying the turf for the first time. Her dam was a graded stakes place horse who won a couple times on the turf. She's a half to grade 3 winner medal count. She was also 3rd in the 2014 Belmont behind Tonalist. He didn't run on the turf, so you're not really quite sure what to expect for this one. She's also cutting back to a sprint for the first time since her debut. So again, a bit of a question mark trying the turf for the first first time, but a horse I'm really interested in.
I'm not going to tear down Caffeine, although I probably should. She's gone favored in 4 of her 5 races. That alone should worry you. She was supposed to win that race last time out of Tampa. She was much the best horse. She set an opening quarter in just 24 and frankly stopped. Now we're doing a lot of things different. We've been freshened up since then. There's got to be something wrong in that last race. We've taken some time off. First time on turf. First time 5/8. First time Dave Fawkes. A lot of first times, and Caffeine's going to have to show that she does have some talent. The bettors thought she did last year. She was favored in her first 3 races, having missed the board in every occasion.
Her best race was actually the only race that she was not as the favorite. She finished second 2 back, but that was back in February. She's coming off of about a 6-month layoff, so I agree with you. There are some question marks here for her, but I thought a very interesting one that you might want to be able to throw at and might get a little bit of a price on.
As I said, this is a good betting race, race number 6 on the program as part of the middle pick 4. We're going to take a brief timeout. More great racing action from Gulfstream, including the Rainbow 6, right after this.
Next January, 12 horses, $1 million buy-in for a $12 million purse. It is the world's richest race. It is the Pegasus World Cup.
We're all looking forward to the Pegasus World Cup as part of the 2016-17 Champions Meet here in South Florida. We're on now to race number 7 on the Saturday program. If you're just joining us, welcome to Gulfstream today. Track announcer Pete Aiello, joined by Acacia Courtney. It's up to race number 7 on the 12-race program, and that means it starts the Rainbow 6. Carry over today, more than $30,000.
We'll give you a look at my ticket today, and again, wasn't able to find a single. We keep talking about how these are some good betting races on here. I went 3 deep in the first leg with the 1, 3, and the 7 light our way, who's probably bound to take a lot of the money. $43.20.
You know, it's funny. I was harassed for the last couple of days by both some of our fans and by some of our employees as to my lack of willingness to argue with you. And I tried to explain to them that I can only argue if I disagree. And I was just looking at this race, and I'm thinking in my head as you're going over your Rainbow 6, oh, good, this is a race I can argue because she's never going to pick Playa Zaragoza. And you know what? There's Playa Zaragoza. So to the fans who think that I'm trying to be nice because Acacia and I are working together, you're wrong. I have to pick my battles, and frankly, I agree with her most of the time.
And my response to that was, I don't know what that says about me, but we get along well, we work well together, always fun, Pete, and so I'm glad that you agree with me. Hopefully we can get these horses home together. I mentioned the number 7, Light Our Way, who I think is going to be the speed, was claimed and moved over into the barn of Gilberto Zerpa last time out and won by nearly 4 lengths with Josie Gomez aboard, who's going to stay aboard.
Yeah, she did it from off the speed. There were 2 other horses in that race, Gold Crescent and Red Hot and Boom, who actually got in front of her. I thought that was all they wrote for Light Our Way. She'd never been shown the propensity to rate from off the speed, but she had moved barns. She did show that propensity. The waters get a little bit deeper here today, but with her newfound tractability, I think she lands a good spot here because Playa Zaragoza, Zaya's probably going to send from the rail back in less than a week.
My thinking as well, this one found a sloppy track last time out, going 5 furlongs, back to a fast track today, especially coming from the rail. I do expect her to go out to the front.
It's actually 9 days, but to me it feels like a week. I wasn't here when she ran her last race.
We won't talk about that part.
Number 3 here, Unknown, is kind of an unknown. She ran terrible last time out, but she had won 2 back-to-back victories before that, and she beat some pretty good horses doing it. Lady Nura came back to get real good on turf. High Rapid Lady came back to get real good on the main track. So Can you draw a line through Unknown's last race? You should, because her winning jockey, Tyler Gaffleone, look at this. Sometimes people say, jockeys don't matter. And sometimes I agree, but not in this case. Tyler sat on this filly 3 times, by far her 3 best races. Tyler back with Unknown today.
Absolutely. Finished second with her a couple starts back, beaten by a length and a half, and then had those 2 victories back-to-back. Edgar Zayas climbed aboard last time. We know Edgar Zayas, a very talented rider, had 5 wins on the card yesterday. He's been having a fantastic meet. It's just sometimes horses and jockeys, they don't always fit together. So
yeah, I mean, it would be like riding Luca Panici on a horse like Awesome Banner. It's not probably the best fit. Luca's great, but he doesn't want a horse that goes 44 to the half mile.
Right, so it looks like Tyler really fits this horse very well. Good to see him back aboard. That was also one of my big reasons for putting this horse on. Unknown is 8-1 on the morning line. Playa Zaragoza 10-1. So this is a race where you might be able to get some good prices.
Yeah, I think so. Moe's is a turf horse, no thank you. Ariel's Flyer is a turf horse, no thank you. Pillowcase is a turf horse, no thank you. So that's a 9-horse field reduced to 6 already, at least in my view.
And I threw on the number 8, Say It Right Cat, who finished second last time out, beaten about 4 lengths, but I think he'll improve and maybe get a piece of the pie today.
Well, I beat her in all 3 of her races in Hot Springs over the winter, so I'm going to continue to try to beat her. So when Say It Right Cat wins, if you're joining us on the rail, feel free to look up and wave, because she won't be with my support when she does eventually win. We'll look now to race number 8, the 8th race on turf at 7.5 furlongs. Maidens in for a $12,500 price tag. Another good betting race. Some of the same storylines. Number 2, Traffic Express. Is this his time to finally win? I'm never going to be confident in that idea. It's my Valentino, same story. They've both had opportunities to win, but they both look like the best 2 in this race again today.
Well, I'm trying to beat both of them with a horse that's 10-1 on the morning line, and that's Color Me Pegasus, who's trying the turf for the first time. A half to stakes place Color Me Pom Pom has a couple of siblings that have won on the turf before. Terry Pompey also trains Color Me Pom Pom. And this horse added the blinkers for the first time last time out, showed some speed. Yes, a bit of an unknown trying the turf for the first time, but I just didn't want those 2 other favorites.
Yeah, the big class dropper here does not make Acacia's ticket. Okay, everyone, Billy Badgett, listen, I'm getting ready to argue. How can you not use the 8 Casby's Kid on your ticket, Acacia? The horse was 3rd 2 back against much better. In fact, so much better that Telling Tony would come back against stakes horses and go favored. My last time out lost to Give to UK Cats, who came back to win easy. What Power came back to win easy. Been freshened up. I guess maybe that's why you don't use them. But against this field, has to be part of your top 4.
Well, this whole field, I think, is just full of unknowns and question marks, because these are not the most consistent horses. You have Traffic Express, who's consistent. He consistently finishes in the money. He's had 17 starts so far. The last 2 races were in the money finishes. Even when he's beat further back, he's not beat by that much. This horse really comes from very far back. I'm talking about the 8 Casby's Kid. Yes, he's dropping. Yes, he has a pretty solid work tab, but he comes from very, very far back in this race here. He's coming off a 5-month layoff as well. I felt like there are other horses in here who might have a better shot to get to the winner's circle.
Well, one thing I will say, though, Casby's Kid has something that Traffic Express does not, and this is not a knock. I mean, maybe it is, but Traffic Express, I've said it before, so I can say it again and not get in trouble. He has no turn of foot. None. 0. That's why when you look at his races, the races where he's on the lead, he just grinds it out and stays at a 1 pace. The races where he's off the pace, he doesn't make big flashy moves. He is going to win at some point. I promise you that. But how he does it is just something I don't know, because you can't put him on the lead with too much of his speed used early, but you also can't take him too far back because he's not going to pass horses. He needs the right setup. Does he get it today? I can't answer that.
I don't think he does in here. I think that he's eligible to hit the board. Maybe I put him 4th in here, but I don't think it's his day yet.
Number 7, Leroy's Image needs some airtime. I agree with that selection. JoJo's Dream was a sharp winner last time out, came right back, stepped up, and won again. His 2 races in the Chris Gaddis barn in June and July, respectively, are plenty good enough to play a major role here.
And I like the jockey change to Luca Panici. I don't think that he's going to be that far back. I don't think he's going to have too much work to do in a scenario where the pace is a little bit suspect.
And had some problems in the start last time out. See, now I go from disagreeing to agreeing again. Maybe someone has a point. We'll move now to the 9th race, first leg of the late pick 4, 9th race on the main track at 1 mile. Maiden special weight for the 2-year-olds. Tough race here. We have a horse that has stakes credentials in number 3, Awesome Standard. You have a horse who has the best resume by far in Adagio, and you have a horse who's coming in from New York. off of graded stakes opportunities, but it's never been on the main track. A lot of different storylines going in.
Well, this is one of the most fascinating races on the card, I think. And there are a couple horses that you just kind of look at them and you just don't really know what to do with them. The 6 Gemologist are being one of them. The 5 Unbridled Holiday is another one that you just kind of don't really know what to do with. So I tried to go for a horse in here that I felt like I could trust a little bit more, and I landed on the number 7 Adagio on top. Found a wet, fast track last time out and finished a very good second. Maybe the track helped him out a little bit, but his 2 races prior to that were pretty solid as well. He had 2 third-place finishes, 2 back finish behind next out winner Sunshine and Shadow, Noble Venezuela, a pretty good runner there, and in his debut, finished 3rd behind another Antonio Sano runner named Thanks God. So I think with the addition of blinkers in here today, the stretch out to the mile, it looks like he's going to be a big contender in here. Also used the number 1 General Obvious. He looks pretty solid on the work tab. Good in his debut as well. I actually want to go back and show that debut. Good. He's another one stretching out to the mile distance here. This was back on July 23rd. He's the number 6. Has a big white blaze, so he'll be able to follow in the stretch with the green cap. A lot of inexperienced horses in here. You can see the number 8 veered over. Really smart move, moved over to the rail. There he is as we come around the turn. The 6 with the white blaze. Elvis Trujillo was aboard there. I think he's in a fine position here. Ends up moving out. He gets running room. Inspired was a runaway winner that day. Tyler Gaffleone was aboard that winning horse, and it was his 4th on the day there. Tyler Gaffleone now rides this horse, General Obvious, who finishes a good second, and I think is definitely eligible to improve.
Well, he was in a couple weeks ago as a main track only, and actually Ron Nicoletti let me do something that you didn't let me do the other day. I gushed about him. I showed the replay, and then Ronnie goes, oh, by the way, he's main track only, so he's not going to run. Now, but the good news is that I was wanting him to go long. When I was talking about General Obvious a few weeks ago, he looks like a horse, especially on that backtrack, that would appreciate a 2-turn, at least a longer trip, not 2 turns here at Gulfstream, 1-turn mile. He'll like that. I like the improvement factor. I think you have the right 2 here, although they probably are going to be the top 2 in the betting.
I think so too, but as far as this field goes, they are the right 2. The number 3, Awesome Standard, you mentioned, who tried the Dr. Fager in the Florida Sire Stakes last time out. Still a maiden, though, in the 3 starts. Didn't show anything in his debut on the slop. I think you can put a line through that. Ran solidly in his 2nd start. He's another one stretching out. And then I talked about the 5 Unbridled Holiday, who is just a big question mark for me. Ran okay on the turf last time out. Didn't do any running in his debut on the dirt. He's moving back over to the dirt now. He's a $420,000 son of Harlan's Holiday, half to a multiple stakes place Silver Fox, and a half to a grade 3 winner Elusive Lady. So he's nicely bred horse. He's moving back over to the dirt, though. What do you do with this one?
Well, you have to figure that he doesn't want any part of 5/8. He's by Harlan's Holiday out of an unbridled song mare. 5/8 isn't the move. Biancone obviously knew that. He needed to get him a race. He took money in the debut, then freshened up and got on turf. Does he want turf? Who knows? Only Patrick Biancone knows what the right intentions were there. But I think what he did want was a 2-turn trip and more ground. So he took to the turf last time out. He lost to a horse who was expected to win in zipping. And I love the fact that he's half to Sir Silver Fox. I used to love that horse. He ran down here for a while.
A little bit of an emotional hunch bet then.
Wait, my emotional hunch bet won yesterday with the Wirtz reference, so we'll go back to Sir Silver Fox. It was a little bit later on.
All righty. And again, one, it's a little bit of a question, but one I think you have to give a little bit of an extra look to.
Well, speaking of questions, we have some questions to answer as we move to the 10th race. Claimers at the $6,250 level. They've not won 2. The question that I want to know is what happens with Gold Crescent and Red Hot and Boom. Last time out, they were 2nd and 3rd behind Light Our Way, who's in earlier today. Are they the 2 to beat in here? You say no, and unfortunately for all watching, I agree.
Alrighty, well, I went with the number 9 Indominus on top in here. It will be interesting. Watch Light Our Way earlier on, see how that horse runs, and maybe get a little bit of an idea how these 2 are going to fare in here. But Red Hot and Boom, the one, finished second in her last 2 starts. She's just 1 for 12. She's another one of those horses that just always seems to get beat. The 2 Gold Crescent is a solid runner, added the blinkers 2 back, but hasn't won with the blinkers yet, actually won without the blinkers before being claimed and moving over into the barn of Ralph Zadie. So I went to the number 9 Indominus, who's taking a rather big drop in class. Broke her maiden a couple starts back when moving back over to the dirt from the turf. Found a good track last time out, and it was against 12-5 non-winners of 2. She finished a very solid 3rd. She gets Lane Luzzy aboard today, and I think that she could sit a nice race in here.
Well, the 1 Red Hot and Boom and the 2 Gold Crescent both annoy me. That's not relevant to the handicapping argument, but the reason they annoy me is that they always seem to run well, they always seem to show tactical speed, but they never seem to be able to get the job done. And sometimes, like with Red Hot and Boom, it's not her fault. She should have won that race 2 back. Meanwhile, Indominus was a horse who I hated with the capital H in her last race because she beat nothing with the capital N. We're using a lot of capitals here in her maiden win. She did it easy, but she didn't beat anything. Then last time out, figure-wise, she runs the same race, but quality-wise, she ran much better. Mama Splash was expected to win. She did. Artie's Bourbon Girl was expected to be second. She was. So Indominus finished 3rd, well beaten by 2 horses who she should have been well beaten by.
And I thought it was a solid performance against the rest of the field, considering who she was running against there. As I mentioned, it was against 12-5 non-winners of 2. She's going to be in the 60-50 non-winners of 2 today. Then I also just threw on the number 5, Baby Antonella, who's also dropping a bit in class, but here's another one who always runs okay, but never does seem to get it done.
Exactly. Baby Antonella had 1 win. It was a big win when she got the lead from an inside gate. John Cruz retains the call here today. He's going to try to use some of her speed. I wouldn't use too much of it because if you try to hook to 1 or 2, it's not going to result in a good idea. I do think those are the right 4, though, 1, 2, 5, and 9. Let's go to the 11th race now, the first half of the late daily double on turf at 7.5 furlongs. Tough race, good betting race. This race with a lot more depth than the race before it.
Well, we'll start with the number 6, Maximian, who's cutting back in distance. The last couple of races were at 1 mile and a 16th when he moved over to the turf. And I want to show his most recent start because he had quite a bit of early speed, but it was a bit of a curious ending as to what was happening. He's the number 6 there, and he looks like he's going to be able to pull away from the field. He's actually adding the blinkers today. And as we get a bit closer, this is the head-on of the stretch run. You see, he just veers in to the other horse next to him, who was the number 1 that day, El Almirante. There was a trainer claim of foul, understandably so. Now he veers in again. The winner was far on the outside, the number 4, AP Warrior. So he stayed clear of all the traffic trouble. Maybe the addition of blinkers, for some horses, it helps them be a little bit more forwardly placed. For some, it just helps them stay running in a straight line and be a little bit more focused. I think that might be the case with this horse.
See, I don't, because when I looked at that backtrack, Rispoli's race riding El Almirante. That's why he moved over. He's trying to keep El Almirante pinned down in there. That worked, but the problem is that everybody else was already up and by him on the outside. Should be noted, not in your program, El Almirante would come back to win his next race.
He didn't. He ran well next time out, and he had the misfortune of being stuck on the rail with Maximian in this particular last race. So we'll see if Maximian can stay clear of trouble today. I also used the number 5, Bay Point Count, who broke his maiden in start number 15 last time out, and now he's coming back as a fresh gelding.
Okay. I don't have much to add to that, sorry.
He's one to add on there. Also use the number 2, Lemon Royal, who usually closes very strongly and comes from behind. And the 4, Big City Heart, who has some versatility, can sometimes show some speed, but usually stalks the pace a bit.
Lemon Royal would be my top endorsement. He's seeming to be rounding into form for Red Hot jockey Roberto Alvarado Jr., who continues to fly under the radar but does well with limited opportunities. We'll turn now to the 12th race of the afternoon, the 12th and final race. Maidens on the bottom. Claiming price here is $10,000. This is the patented scenario what I was talking about earlier about arguing with Acacia. How can I argue with somebody who jumps on the Steve Boskin second-time starter bandwagon, Starship Impulse? I'm with you.
All right, 5-1 on the morning line. Ran pretty solidly on paper in her first start. I know you want to go back and show that race.
Yeah, there's a reason I want to show you. First of all, Mañana, who's actually in this race, was in that race. But then also you have to take into consideration Starship Impulse. Now, you're going to see her close down the crown of the course. She's going to end up to be 4th behind Charming Fantasy. Charming Fantasy's dropping. She's exposed to the win. She's under a hand ride. She is winning. Mañana's getting up for 2nd. Starship Impulse, you can see the track is chiclet. She's making ground. Why is that relevant? Oh, I don't know, because she was from Steve Dwoskin first time out, which I could make a variety of metaphors, good and bad, for Steve Dwoskin first time out. It doesn't happen. It would be like the Cubs trying to win the World Series. It doesn't happen since 1908. Now, Starship Impulse has had a race.
Look at you with the trivia today.
Well, I remember that, but anyway. Starship Impulse, 2nd time start. She's going to be better than she was last time, but here's the thing. She ran good last time. I like it.
I like the way that she closed last time. I thought it was very solid, and I really think that she can improve off of that. The number 4, Little Quiet, is certainly going to take a lot of money. I put her in 2nd because that seems to be where she likes to finish.
Well, Undominish was supposed to beat her 2 starts ago. She did. Dungeness was supposed to beat her last time out. She did. She continues to round into form. I shudder to say that we're rooting for a 10-4 in the finale for you and me. That's the way I see it as well.
Shudder to say. We have to give a mention to the number 8, Mañana, who you alluded to earlier. Here's another one that just never seems to quite get there, but always can be expected to run pretty solidly, and the 2 Kittens Star.
Well, a very nice way to conclude the day with the top selection from both of us at number 10, Starship Impulse. We're 27 minutes out from our opening contest on this Saturday afternoon. We have a fast main track and a firm turf course. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back momentarily with a reprise of the scratches and changes on today's card. Enjoy your afternoon with us.
Good luck today, everyone.
What do I love about horse racing? Everything.